Broadcasting worldwide through internet, satellite, AM and FM stations across the nation. Sponsored by SurvivalistSeeds.com, PatriotFood.com, and StriderRide.com. It gets a little rough from here on. This is Don't Tread on Me with Big John Lipscomb and Professor Jeffrey Grupp.
Okay, folks, this is going to be a very exciting show this first hour because I have a very special guest. We've never done a show quite like this. He is a martial arts master with 40 years of experience and has black belts in several disciplines like jiu-jitsu, judo, pressure point fighting, karate, jiu-jitsu, stick fighting, samurai swords. My goodness, I wish I just knew a little bit about one of those things. This extraordinary man, folks, has written a book called Secret Buttons of the Hand. How to learn to fight without fighting, folks. This amazing book has numerous color photos, and you can buy it right online, ebook, or you can send off for the traditional book. And, folks, our guest is Sensei Dutch Hinkle. Dutch, welcome to Don't Tread on Me. How are you doing?
Pretty good, John.
Boy, it is finally here. I've been looking forward to this, Dutch. You know, I did a little Golden Glove boxing when I was in school, but I tell you what, reading your resume is awe-inspiring. What, did you start about 10 years old in martial arts?
No, actually, I started in the 8th grade in junior high or middle school. And I'll tell you the short story. I learned martial arts because my mother wanted me to learn how to swim. And so in this little northwestern Ohio town that I lived in, she took me down to a YMCA during the summertime. But she made one small error, and that is she dropped me off too soon. The pool hadn't opened yet. So like a curious young man, I was checking out this old YMCA, and I ended up in the basement, and I started hearing noises like someone having a party. And I stuck my head in this door, and I saw a bunch of people on a wrestling mat wearing PJs with different colored belts, and they were throwing around each other and having a good old time. That was my first introduction to martial arts, and the martial art was judo. Well, I got in trouble that summer. I never learned how to swim, but I learned judo, and I eventually became a state judo champion and a third-degree black belt.
Oh, my. Yeah, you stuck your head in there and you never came out, did you?
Yeah.
So, do you have your own school at this time, and you're probably teaching other students?
Yes, I teach students privately, and I teach at a athletic club in Largo, Florida, which is in the Tampa Bay area. Before that, when I lived in Denver, Colorado, I had a school for about 15 years.
Wow. Now, Dutch, these secret buttons, they're all about the hand, right? So what you're saying is these are pressure points on the wrist, the hand, that if you know these pressure points, you know how to grab them, put pressure, and then put your assailant or down to the ground, or what?
Yes, sir. There's literally thousands of pressure points all over your body. In this book, I have identified 21 of these pressure points just on the hand, not even on the wrist. There's still more on the wrist and the arm and the shoulder and so forth, but just on the hand. And these were designed as release buttons so that when you manipulate these buttons, if someone has touched you or grabbed you especially, they end up releasing or loosening up their grip so that you can apply a follow-up technique to put them in control or take them down to the ground. There's a couple in which they can produce excruciating pain just by manipulating the pressure point itself.
Wow. How you doing tonight, Todd? This is Jeff Grupp, the new co-host of Don't Tread on Me. It's really interesting material of yours I've been checking out online. It's I see this big, beautiful color book you have at secretbuttonsofthehand.com. Your website's a pretty nice pictures of you doing your thing there. So
thank you.
Now, a lot of people will say, okay, does this really work? How do we know? I mean, there's probably a lot of skeptics out there to think that it can be this straightforward and simple of a fighting technique.
Tremendous amount of skepticism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what would you say back to that? I mean, I'm a believer. I've seen this stuff in action, but what would you say back to them?
Well, I can say many things, but I've learned to grab their attention. And when people say, pressure point, that's a bunch of hogwash. Well, I say, have you ever watched Star Trek? You ever saw Mr. Spock? I know this is science fiction on TV, but I always admired how Mr. Spock was able to, when being attacked by someone, he just had to press a few buttons on the shoulder or neck or back of his assailant, and they would drop like a box of rocks. While his compadres like Captain Kirk and Scotty and Bones, they had to duke it out with the bad guys. But Mr. Spock, he just pressed a few buttons, and he was highly effective. Well, that was science fiction. But pressure points is science fact. And the reason why, the Chinese, over 1,000 years ago, discovered that the human body had 14 meridians. I call these meridians rivers of energy so that you can visualize it better. Now, these meridians are associated with major organs in the body, like the heart meridian and the lung meridian and so forth. Well, on these rivers of energy, there are actual pressure points that actually disrupt the energy flowing through that meridian. And that's why they're effective.
Amazing. Now, the first thing a lot of people might think of is this sounds a whole lot like acupuncture in the opposite, with the opposite effect. I mean, I've seen acupuncture do, it's almost like a miracle, some of the things I've seen. People quit smoking, can induce birth, all kinds of amazing things. So how does this relate to that science?
It's on the money. The acupuncturists, people that use needles, and the acupressurists that use the tip of their thumb or their fingers use the same exact meridians and the same exact pressure points. But they manipulate these pressure points in such a way as to reduce pain or reduce suffering because of a condition. Where martial artists, with pressure point knowledge, utilize the same pressure points, but to the point of pain. That's the difference. It's a difference in the matter of applying pressure.
Right, but not every martial artist knows all these pressure points, right? I mean, it's kind of a secret.
99% of all martial artists do not know, and there's a reason for that.
And what is that?
Pressure point knowledge is categorized as advanced training. In Japanese, it's called okudan. It was reserved only for martial arts masters and was never to be released to the public. So unless you're a 5th degree or above,